Putin Bad News Wagner mercenaries could be used in a Russian invasion of NATO countries like Poland and the Baltics. On July 22, advisor to the president Mikhailo Podolyak tweeted that Russia may launch a hybrid aggression against NATO using mercenaries from PMC Wagner Group. He warned that the border areas between Poland and the Baltic states are particularly vulnerable. The Russian strategy of raising the stakes to put pressure on NATO allies was highlighted by Podolyak's tweet. This aggression would be meant to pressure alliance countries to reduce the aid they are providing to Ukraine. Podolyak stressed that PMC Wagner fighters would likely target specific border territories of Poland and the Baltic countries because they are unlikely to remain idle in their tent camps in Belarus. The mercenaries, he emphasized, want consistent engagement in combat operations for lucrative financial streams. Ukrainian borders are heavily fortified, making it difficult for reconnaissance and sabotage groups to infiltrate them. Podolyak singled out a 100-kilometer section of border between Poland and Lithuania known as the Suwalki Gap as particularly tempting territory for potential Russian occupiers. He doubted that NATO could successfully oppose the PMC Wagner mercenaries. Russia sees this uncertainty as weakness and is more likely to provoke as a result. The willingness of NATO countries to counter an armed group is currently unclear, he said. Podolyak thinks that if Ukraine were armed to drive out the Russian occupiers, peace in Europe could be restored. Eastern European countries get this, but other capitals farther from Russia need to be reminded more often, he said. What we know about the PMC Wagner in Belarus. Wagner Group founder and leader Yevgeny Prigozhin negotiated with Belarusian dictator Alexander Lukashenko on June 24 and ended his one-day insurrection against Russian dictator Vladimir Putin. As a result of the talks, Putin gave the Wagner forces three options, one of which included sending them to Belarus. There were rumors soon after that camps were being built in Belarus for the Wagner mercenaries to stay in. After that, satellite images of a possible field camp were made public. A camp for Wagner units does not exist, but Lukashenko did say they would be provided with accommodation, if they needed it. The State Border Guard Service of Ukraine estimates that Belarus could house up to 8,000 Wagner mercenaries. Ukrainian intelligence, however, warned against jumping to any hasty conclusions about their deployment there. It was later revealed that the Wagner mercenaries in Belarus were planning to train locals for combat. NATO Secretary-General Jens Stoltenberg backed up these claims, and on July 12 the Ministry of Internal Affairs of Belarus confirmed talks about the training of Belarusian special forces. On July 14, the Ukrainian State Border Guard Service reported that Russia had pulled nearly all of its armed forces out of Belarus. On July 20, the Defense Ministry of Belarus announced that Wagner militants and Belarusian security forces had been training together near the Polish border. On the same day that PMC Wagner mercenaries arrived in Belarus, Polish Defense Minister Mariusz Błaszczak announced that his country had moved some of its troops to the country's eastern border. Boris Pistorius, Germany's Minister of Defense, has assured Poland that his country will stand by them if PMC Wagner attacks from Belarus. On July 23, the Hagen Monitoring Group in Belarus reported that the 10th column of Wagner PMC had arrived in Belarus.